Hello ladies and gentlemen and welcome to Royal Chess. My name is Ján Markoš and this is my 8th video out of 10 of the series about Karpov strategical wins. Today we will focus on a very interesting game which was played in Amsterdam 1991, and the game is Karpov Timman. In the early 90s, Ján Timman was an extremely strong player. He was even the challenger of Anatoly Karpov in a world championship match, so definitely not a weak player. And I would say that the main topic of this game is the play with a passed pawn, but there are several interesting topics which are just interchanging from one to another. But I simply wasn't able to resist the temptation to include this game because I simply find it great. So although the passed pawn will be there just for a few moves, I think that this is the main topic of the game. But let's have a look. So Karpov played d4 and Timman played d5, c4, d takes c4. So again we have a queen's gambit on the board, as was the case in the 7th video of the series, but this time it's not the queen's gambit declined, but the queen's gambit accepted. Black takes on c4 with the idea that although white will be allowed to take on c4 in one move, as compared to some other lines where white has to go bishop e2 and only then black takes on c4 and white has to lose the tempo. But normally white, if he wants to take on c4 very early, has to play some e2 e3, which closes the c1 bishop. So basically this is the idea. Black doesn't want to have any troubles with the d5 pawn whatsoever, so he simply takes it, and after e3, as was played in the game, white can take in one move on c4, but his bishop on c1 doesn't feel that comfortable. Now the most normal move is e6 and knight f3, knight f6, bishop c4, a6, very normal line, but Timman decided that the fact that white didn't play knight f3 allows him to play e5, and this is also one of the lines. Now if white takes, then black takes, spoils the king's position of white, and now he simply somehow covers on c4 and basically will probably have the lead in development in a few moves after knight c6 long castling. The king on d1 simply doesn't feel very safe on an open file. So no one takes on e5 after e5, but everybody plays bishop takes c4 instead. Now black took, and now white can even consider some other move than e takes d4, because d takes e3 runs into bishop f7 in this moment, but okay, Karpov took on d4. So now we have the first topic of this game, which is how to play with an isolated pawn. We had a video where we spoke about how to play against the isolated pawn, but this is a new situation for us. Basically, when you are having an isolated pawn, you want to create some kind of attack in the game, making use of the fact that the isolated pawn gives you two interesting outposts, the more important square e5 and maybe a bit less important square c5. On the other hand, black, as we spoke in one of the previous videos, wants to exchange as many light pieces as possible and enter some kind of an endgame. Now black went knight f6, knight f3, bishop e7, castles, castles. All of this is very logical. And now white went h3. This is quite interesting. Karpov spotted that this c8 bishop doesn't have too many squares to go. On e6 it would be exchange for the c4 bishop, and this e6 pawn would be much weaker than the d4 pawn of white. On f5, as we will see later, the bishop is not so stable. It can be attacked from various sides, for example with the queen from f3. And so the only normal move would be to g4, and therefore white plays h3 and restricts black. Black couldn't have played bishop g4 here because bishop f7 gives white immediately a winning position, so this wasn't possible. But after castling, bishop g4 was already a threat, and therefore white played h3. Now black played knight bd7, knight c3, knight b6, bishop b3. All of this is very logical. Black simply builds up the control of the outpost of d5 and wants to put some piece there and feel very well on this square. When this square is controlled, then also the isolated pawn doesn't have the intention to move forward. So now black played c6, and white played a very normal move, rook e1. The rook comes to an open file and attacks the e7 bishop. Now knight fd5, and as we said before, white doesn't really want to exchange light pieces because that's simply black's plan to enter the endgame without light pieces and just push with heavy pieces against the d4 square and the d4 pawn and just take it. And therefore white keeps the knight on the board. He goes knight e4 and understands that sometimes he might put the knight to c5, but also sometimes the knight might go to g5, and after some queen d3, bishop c2, might transpire that black's king side is not sufficiently covered. As you can see, there is usually there is some knight on f6, but this knight went to d5. Now black went bishop f5, also maybe stopping some ideas connected with the usage of the b1 h7 diagonal by white, and now white played knight e5. So here you can really see how both sides are making most of their outposts. Black has secured his outposts on d5, and white has, on the other hand, secured the e5 outpost, and also his second knight wants to jump to c5. So this is very typical, and please note that also queen f3 is coming, harassing the f5 bishop. Now black went knight d7 and white queen f3. Now of course bishop g6 is possible, and one after which white can go bishop d2, rook a d1, and simply you can see how this isolated pawn gives him some extra momentum in the center and simply gives him interesting attacking play. But after queen f3, Timman decided to play a different move. He took on e5. This is probably very questionable because now the d4 pawn will disappear, the weak pawn will disappear. Of course white is not going to take on f5 because of, for example, even knight d3 or knight g6, but also knight d3 is quite interesting. Although here maybe knight g5 takes causes some troubles for black, so maybe the simplest thing is to go knight g6 after queen f5, but still that would keep the d5 knight where it is. So after knight takes e5, white decided to take on e5 naturally, and now this isolated pawn which could have been weak has moved to e5 where it definitely is strong. And now black played bishop g6, and okay, our main topic, which was like our first topic of the game, which was like how to play with the isolated pawn, has transformed into a different topic, which might be how to use a weak square. The weakest square in Black's camp is the d6 square, and Karpov decides to go for this square directly. I think that many players would play bishop d2 here, trying to keep their bishop pair, but this is not so straightforward as probably needed. Karpov played bishop f4 instead, so he's simply willing to give away the bishop pair, but only for the strong d5 knight. And after knight takes, queen takes, the next move will definitely be knight d6, and it isn't that important that Black has got the bishop pair. I think that the more important thing is that White has made maximum use of the d6 square, and if Black takes here, then White takes rook takes e4, and this is a bit better for White because of the vulnerability of the f7 pawn, and also the king, which is just hiding behind it. In similar situations, the most important thing is that similar situations with opposite colored bishops, the most important thing is which side has got the advantage, and here it is clearly White. Black doesn't have any counterplay against the White king, and here the activity of the White's bishop is very strong. So this is very unpleasant to play when you are not a computer and you can just adequately defend at any moment. Then it's very difficult to play. So after bishop f4, Timman decided to keep his d5 knight, and he simply went queen a5. But now White has jumped to d6, so the defender of the knight has helped a lot. The c1 bishop went to f4 in order to make this jump possible, and he has done it. Now Black took on d6, and we came to the third topic of this game, and perhaps the main topic: how to use a passed pawn. This is a passed pawn. It's a pretty much advanced passed pawn, and it's not so easy to catch it actually. One of the reasons being is that this g6 bishop is a bit out of the way, in some kind of offside when it comes to catching this pawn, and he might be transferred to d7, but it's not so easy. So Black has to be very, very careful. Probably the most normal move would be rook a d1, rook a d8, but Timman was a bit careless and he went rook f e8, and after this, surprisingly enough, White is probably winning by force. It's not so easy to find, but you can try if you want to. If you feel like stopping the video and just trying to find the tactical solution after rook e8, please do so. It's basically based on the fact that White can control in many lines the dark squares, the d8 square, the c7 square, so only what he needs is to get via the White d7 square. So now White took on e8, rook takes e8, and now he even took on d5. Again, this is very interesting. Karpov is by no means obsessed by the bishop pair. He simply exchanges it when it's effective. And now we can have a look at some lines just to appreciate the depth of Karpov's calculation. Firstly, for example, after takes, c takes, White goes d7. Now Black, of course, has to go to d8 because otherwise White would just go bishop c7 and d8. And now White wins after rook e1. Now, because of the weakness of the 8th rank, black cannot take. He has to go f6. But after rook e7, there is no bishop f5 because white checks again. And bishop c7 is a threat. And if black goes king f8, then bishop d6 wins because now black has to go king g8, otherwise rook e8, and now bishop c7 wins. So taking on d5 after bishop d5 is not working. The second line is rook e1 check, rook takes, queen takes, king h2, c takes, and again white goes d7, king rook e7, queen e7, queen d5, queen d8, and now bishop g5, and black has got no f6 to defend against the promotion on the d8 square. So after bishop takes, black took with the c pawn on d5, and white played d7. And again, interesting lines are arising. For example, after rook d8, white goes queen e3, queen e8 is a threat, and after queen b5, white wins with a very nice move, bishop c7. Now this pawn is attacked twice, but cannot really be taken because queen d7 loses an exchange, and rook d7 is check on e8. After d7, black went rook e7, and now again the weakness of the 8th rank is the main factor, because after rook c1, there seems to be a very nasty check on c8, but black still hoped that he can get along with this line, rook c8 check, rook d8, and now after bishop c7, which is a fork on two heavy pieces, queen e1 is the solution, but Karpov calculated precisely, and now he went b4. And now, if the queen takes, of course, that's mate in 1 or something very similar. Of course, queen f8 is there, but that's just extremely warm position. Queen c8, b takes a5 is not enough, so black went queen b6, and white played bishop c7. Now black can take not only the rook but also the bishop, but still it's not enough to keep equality, because now white takes on d5, and this queen is much stronger than these two pieces, also because the g6 bishop is still quite out of play. So now black needed a luft for his king. White took another pawn and one more pawn. Black took on a2, but after queen d4 it was quite clear that this pawn is running. Again, the passed pawn is running to queen on b8. So basically we had seen a fantastic strategical game where Karpov was able to transform his position with sometimes even weak isolated pawn on d4. With two exchanges, this pawn went from d4 to e5 and from e5 to d6, and was transformed into a monster far advanced passed pawn. With passed pawns you always have to be extremely careful, and Timman wasn't, and he miscalculated, and after that the passed pawn simply showed all his energy and was able to force black to lose some material. So a very nice game, my 8th video from the Karpov series created for Royal Chess. Have a nice day, bye bye.